The Kage, within the world of Naruto, was basically like a general of that village or even that country, who commanded the military forces of that village, which were basically the ninjas. But besides the roles of leading in battle and also fighting, they also had other responsibilities, like administrative duties. But let's start from the beginning. How did these guys come to be? Before the Kages existed, there was only war, gunfire, fighting, and explosions. That was back in the days when Hashirama and Madara were fighting each other every single day. Then there came a point when Hashirama got tired of beating up Madara, talked to the guy, asked for a truce, and little Madara agreed. So, with this first alliance between the Uchiha and Senju, who were the strongest clans at the time, the Land of Fire and the Hidden Leaf Village, Konoha, were formed around this union. When this alliance happened, a leader was needed so that Konoha could move forward. And theoretically, that choice had already been made, and it was supposed to be little Madara-sama. Just imagine Madara as Hokage. I can already see things going wrong. Although, at that time, Madara was pretty chill, right? It was envy that ate away at the guy. So, it should have been Madara, but, however, nevertheless, Tobirama would never accept being controlled or led by a Uchiha. He played all the political games to make sure there was a vote, and when the vote happened, it was a landslide. The charismatic, more than charismatic, little Hashirama won and became the village's first Hokage. The first shadow of Konoha, because Kage means shadow. And since there are 5 Kages, they are the 5 great shadows. So that's when the formation of the Kages begins. After the Leaf Village was established, all the other 5 villages started to form, the great villages, each with their 5 great Kages. So our first Hokage was Hashirama Senju. No introduction needed, little Hashirama was basically Naruto's Meijin Buu. You could cut him, kill him, burn him, and the guy would just come back, end of story. Besides his overpowered regeneration ability, the guy had a wood-style jutsu and could create Megazords. So the man went from Dragon Ball to Power Rangers. His time as Hokage went smoothly. He was there mostly at the beginning, really during the founding of the Leaf, setting up the village's first structure. He took part in the first meeting between the Kages, and there he made a little deal that lined Konoha's pockets. He simply took the tailed beasts that Konoha had in its possession, and generous as he was, wanting all the villages to have tailed beasts to balance power among the nations, was he going to just give them away? Of course not. He sold the tailed beasts. And he definitely didn't sell them cheap, so that first Kage meeting was basically like a tailed beast bazaar. First Kazekage, Redo, there's not much to say about this guy, really. But he did take part in the first big Kage meeting, and back at the time of that meeting, since his village had already captured a tailed beast, the One Tail, he decided not to buy any more tailed beasts. In fact, he actually wanted to charge the others, to have them pay him, since he wasn't going to buy any tailed beasts and didn't want to lose out in the deal, you know. But then everyone got suspicious about that proposal. There was a lot of back and forth. Hashirama made his arguments, and the Kazekage gave up on that idea. First Tsuchikage, Shikawa. He didn't have many accomplishments either, and at the first Kage meeting, he bought the 4 tails and 5 tails. First Mizukage, Byakuren. At the first meeting, he bought the 3 tails and the 6 tails. First Raikage, A. At the first meeting, the Kages also, he bought the 2 tails and the 8 tails. At least this guy had some vision. He bought the big rat. Second Hokage, my man Tobirama Senju. What can we say about my man Tobirama? He was nothing more, nothing less than the driving force behind the Uchiha massacre. Yeah, because if you didn't know, the one who started the segregation of the Uchiha within Konoha was Tobirama himself, by creating the Uchiha police force, which was basically meant to do nothing more than keep an eye on the Uchiha clan and keep them away from the higher positions, especially those close to the Hokage. He even literally isolated them in a corner of the village. On top of that, the guy was a natural-born jutsu creator. He must have created like 50,000 jutsu, but the most well-known ones were just some little pranks. The Shadow Clone Jutsu, which is the main jutsu of the anime's protagonist. The Flying Raijin, which is the main jutsu of the protagonist's father. And Edo Tensei, which, honestly, might be the most powerful jutsu in the whole story. The guy was seriously a legend. Second Kazekage, Shaman. It's not certain, but he was most likely a puppet user. And he was the first of the Kages to research the tailed beasts more deeply and try to use them to boost his village's military power. Second Tsuchikage, Mu. His name really fit him, because he actually looked like a mummy, right? And this guy was a real badass too, you know? The guy had the power to turn invisible, had the Kekei Genkai of sand release, and even knew how to use the Taishin hand technique. This one is only for those who really know Dragon Ball. If you remember well, Taishin hand could make clones, but it wasn't exactly like a shadow clone. He would split himself, but when he split, let's say into 2 people, his power would be divided equally, 50% to one, 50% to the other, just like Mu could do as well. Second Mizukage, Genjutsu. The guy was from the same clan as Suigetsu. They definitely had a lot of creativity when it came to naming the kids in that clan, since they were all Getsu. But unlike Sasuke's lackey, who was a wimp, Genjutsu was a real badass. The guy mastered the water style like no one else, and on top of that, the water he used wasn't just regular water. It was actually a flammable liquid, so besides being able to use unique water styles, he could also use that water to create explosive techniques. The guy was so tough that he managed to kill Mu, who was already a monster before he died. They both ended up dying. According to the Raikage, A, he was the bodyguard of the first, and honestly, there's not much else to say about him. Third Raikage, Hiruzen Sarutobi. The old stoner from Konoha was easily one of the strongest Hokages. The guy had all 5 nature releases. He was said to be the strongest Hokage of all up to his time. During his entire time as Hokage, it was pretty much a period of peace except for that little Uchiha massacre. Then, even after he retired, the man had to come back and fight the others twice. Once when the Nine Tails attacked the village, and the second time when he had to come back as Hokage because the little rat had died, and he had to go fight Orochimaru and the freaking first and second Hokage. On top of that, the man was also famous for being an excellent caretaker of children and a man of his word, like how he took care of little Naruto so warmly, as we all saw, right? He gave the kid an allowance and told him to go take care of himself. The third Kazekage, whose name was never revealed in the series, was known as one of the most powerful ninjas to ever exist. He was the first ninja to demonstrate magnet release. He could simply control iron sand, which was much heavier than, for example, the sand Gaara controlled, and he was able to perform much more powerful attacks. The guy was such a badass that it was said he managed, through sheer willpower, to break free from Orochimaru's Edo Tensei control all by himself. Check out that feat, man. Besides him, I think only little Madara managed to pull that off. Of course, others could have done it too, like the god Hashirama. Third Tsuchikage, Inoki. Old man Inoki was a real force to be reckoned with, you know? The guy could fly, he had that particle style, and he even wanted to take on Madara himself, my friend. The third Mizukage, his name was never revealed either, but he was the bodyguard of the first, and most likely he was the one who gave the village of the Mist its nickname Bloody Mist Village because of those fun little exams they used to do there, where one classmate would cancel another classmate's CPF. Third Raikage High, known as the most powerful Raikage of all, the guy was so badass that his reputation was simply as the most powerful spear because of his arm, and the most powerful shield, which was his own body. The guy spent literally 3 freaking days fighting alone against 10,000 opponents. That's when he finally went down, my friend, but only after 3 freaking days. Just imagine how many ninjas he took out. I think 10,000 ninjas was even more than the number Madara faced, you know? Fourth Hokage Minatin Hosan, the cutest Hokage in Konoha, was without a doubt the most gifted ninja ever to appear in the history of the Hidden Leaf Village. The kid, besides being reliable, was super powerful, having mastered the Hiraishin and created the Rasengan. The guy known as the Yellow Flash of Konoha was the only ninja whose enemies in war were allowed to run away from if they encountered him. It was like this, my friend, if you saw the blonde guy, you'd better run for your life. And even though he was one of the youngest Hokages, his time as leader was short because he passed away way too soon. The fourth Kazekage, Raza, was none other than Gaara-sama's dad. The man was also known as a very powerful ninja and had the ability to manipulate gold dust, which was even stronger than regular sand. On top of that, he was also known as a very caring dad who tried to take out little Gaara several times, all because he thought that putting the bijou inside his son was a failed experiment. Gaara was a bit messed up in the head and often lost control of Shikaku. So, the attempts to take out Gaara weren't just about protecting the village from his disturbed son, but also a way to test, to make Gaara prove whether he deserved to have Shikaku and to stay alive. That kind of explains a bit of the craziness of our young Gaara back in his youth. The fourth Mizukage, Yugura, the young lad, even though he looked like just a kid, was known as a really tough ninja. He was the Jinchuriki of the Three Tails and had complete control over his bijou. That alone already made him a very powerful ninja. But, however, nevertheless, even with total control over his bijou, the young grasshopper spent a long time being controlled by Obito. Pretty messed up, right? Because anyone who controlled a bijou, man, would fall into a genjutsu, dude. Fourth Raikage, the badass Raikage from Naruto's era, there's not much to say about the guy, really. He and B beat the crap out of Kisame. At the Kage summit, he landed a few punches on Sasuke and lost an arm to Amaterasu, but the man was a Raikage worthy of respect. Fifth Hokage Tsunade Senju, the first medical Kage in history, was by far the shame of the Hokage, being the only Hokage who let an enemy just walk in and blow up the village. Unlike the third and fourth, because similar things happened during their time and neither of them let that crap happen. Minato saved the village from a Bijudama that would have caused just as much destruction, and Tobirama took down Orochimaru, who was also about to wreak havoc, and it wouldn't have been minor either. Fifth Kazekage Gaara-sama, little Gaara was the youngest Kazekage ever, and by that time he had already received Naruto's Talk no Jutsu, so the guy had already turned into a good young man. His special abilities included sand control, the demonic sand shield he had inside him, which was faster and stronger than any other, and during the war he also showed the same skill as his father with controlling gold dust sand. 5th Mizukage Mei Temuri Terumi. 5th Mizukage Mei Terumi Terumi. 5th Mizukage Mei Terumi, after Tsunade, is the second hottest Hokage ever, and in my opinion, the strongest kunoichi to ever appear in the anime. The woman simply had 2 Kekei Genkai. She had the ability to release corrosive mist and lava. It was awesome seeing her put pressure on that little punk Sasuke. Grasshopper, if you made it this far, I want to make you an offer. I'm tired of not having any anime to watch. I've only been watching the more popular anime, but I'm sure there are some really good ones out there that aren't very well known. So if you made it to the end of this video, you're definitely one of the people who likes watching the videos on this channel, so I'm going to make you an offer. Leave a comment below, written like this, epic anime, and the name of the anime you want me to watch. No questions asked. I'll have to watch it. I promise I'll watch at least the first season of that anime, and if I like it, I'll make a video about it here on the channel. So let's do this, and if it turns out to be crap, I'll also make a video here making fun of it, which should be pretty fun too. Now leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks, everyone!